Great Pyramid is an incredibly complicated monument. Those who built it had an enormous knowledge.
Is there not a hidden chamber as well?
In fact, there is a whole underworld at Giza. This is beginning to be recognized. We actually don't know what these chambers were for. No burial of any pharaoh was ever found inside the Great Pyramid. I want to know what else is going to be found that hasn't been investigated yet at all. We're just touching the edge of a huge mystery.
This is one of the things that, the archaeologists and the prehistorians, people are looking at that, have failed to take into account. Now within there could be all kinds of stuff that's not even recognized as being artificial in the sense that humans had anything to do with it.
Tucked away in the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza lies the King's Chamber, a marvel of ancient Egyptian architecture that continues to fascinate historians and visitors alike.
If you look at the famous King's Chamber, its walls and its ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
Imagine walking through the Grand Gallery, a corridor stretching 47 meters long and rising 8.6 meters high, to reach this iconic chamber. This journey alone, through such an expansive space within the solid stone of the pyramid, showcases the incredible skill of ancient Egyptian builders.
Now, Egyptologists will tell you that, they could move heavy blocks because they put them on wet sand and they push them along on wet sand. Well, maybe if you're just at ground level, that will do. But when you're 350 feet above the ground, as you are in the King's Chamber, that won't do at all.
The King's Chamber itself is a testament to the Egyptians' advanced understanding of materials and construction techniques. Carved from red granite brought all the way from Aswan, over 800 kilometers away, the chamber's very walls speak of a civilization capable of monumental feats of logistics and engineering. The room's dimensions, about 10.47 meters by 5.234 meters and 5.974 meters high, are thought to be imbued with symbolic meaning, perhaps aligning with celestial or pharaonic principles.
If we're only looking for a mere reflection of ourselves, we could overlook it completely. I think we're getting very close to rediscovering some of the things that our ancient ancestors were up to.
At the chamber's center lies a red granite sarcophagus, believed to be the intended resting place of Pharaoh Khufu, though intriguingly, no human remains have ever been discovered within it. The sarcophagus bears marks of damage and wear, silent witnesses to the millennia that have passed since its creation. Its very presence in the chamber, given its size, suggests it was placed there during the construction of the room, hinting at the meticulous planning that went into the pyramid's design. Above the chamber, an ingenious system of 5 relieving chambers helps distribute the weight of the pyramid, protecting the space below. This feature highlights the ancient builders' sophisticated understanding of structural integrity. Additionally, the chamber is equipped with 2 narrow shafts extending to the pyramid's exterior. Initially thought to be for ventilation, these shafts are now believed to possibly serve a more symbolic purpose, possibly aligning with stars or celestial phenomena significant to Khufu's journey in the afterlife. Step into the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and you'll find yourself in the Grand Gallery, an awe-inspiring testament to the ancient Egyptians' architectural genius.
I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it, how they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology.
This corridor is not just a path to the King's Chamber. It's a showcase of ancient ingenuity and a symbol of the civilization's advanced engineering capabilities. Imagine walking through this grand space, with walls that narrow as you look upwards, thanks to the sophisticated corbelling technique used in its construction. This method, where each layer of stone slightly overhangs the one below, creates a dramatic narrowing effect towards the ceiling. It's a clear sign of the Egyptians' mastery in using architecture not only for structural stability, but also to inspire awe. The materials themselves, limestone blocks for the walls and heavier stones for the ceiling, were chosen with care, ensuring the gallery could bear the immense weight of the pyramid above. The Grand Gallery served a crucial role as the gateway to the King's Chamber, possibly designed to awe and inspire those who walked its length. But its purpose might have extended beyond mere access. Some scholars suggest it played a part in the pharaoh's funeral procession or other rituals connected to the afterlife journey. Features like the Great Step, A massive stone at the gallery's end and various slots and holes along its walls hint at a space designed for more than simple passage, possibly aiding in the construction of the chamber. Moving on to another fascinating marvel of the pyramid, the Queen's Chamber. It holds mysteries that have puzzled scholars and enthusiasts for centuries. Despite its regal name, it's widely believed that this chamber was never intended as a final resting place for a queen. The lack of any burial artifacts and its distinctive features have sparked endless speculation about its true purpose. Positioned centrally within the pyramid, yet at a lower elevation compared to the majestic King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber offers its own unique allure. Imagine venturing about 20 meters above the ground level through a corridor extending from the Grand Gallery to discover this intriguing space. Its dimensions create an unexpectedly spacious environment, with a pointed roof reaching up towards the pyramid's core, adding to the chamber's grandeur. One of the chamber's most striking features is a large niche in the eastern wall. Standing about 4.6 meters high, this vertical recess has baffled many. Was it intended for a statue serving a symbolic or ritualistic purpose, or does it hold a deeper meaning related to the pharaoh's journey in the afterlife? The construction technique of the chamber's roof, using corbelled layers of stone that create an inverted V-shape, mirrors the design seen in the King's Chamber, suggesting a deliberate architectural choice to ensure stability and perhaps to bear symbolic weight. Theories about the chamber's purpose are as varied as they are fascinating. Some suggest it was used for rituals related to the pharaoh's rebirth or regeneration, with the niche possibly housing a statue or symbolic object. Others propose that its location and design might reflect ancient Egyptian cosmological beliefs or serve a more mundane purpose, like distributing the pyramid's weight or housing a statue of the deceased in a serdab-like arrangement. Recent technological advances have opened new doors in understanding the Queen's Chamber. Non-invasive techniques like infrared thermography and muon radiography have been employed to peek behind the chamber's walls, searching for unknown cavities or clues to its construction and purpose. Within the Great Pyramids lays another mystery. Its air shafts and the subterranean chamber, features as fascinating as they are puzzling. The air shafts, narrow corridors carved into the stone, stretch from the King's and Queen's chambers to the pyramid's exterior. These aren't your average architectural elements. Their design, discovery, and speculated purposes are a treasure trove of intrigue and speculation. First off, these air shafts are tiny, just about 20 by 20 centimeters, too narrow for any human to pass through. They zigzag with precision towards the heavens, pointing to specific regions in the sky that held great significance in ancient Egyptian cosmology. Discovered in 1872 by the engineer Wayman Dixon, the shafts from the Queen's Chamber were a late find in the pyramid's history, adding layers to the mystery surrounding this ancient wonder. Originally thought to ventilate the chambers, this idea doesn't hold up for the Queen's Chamber shafts, which don't quite reach the exterior. Instead, the prevailing theories are far more mystical. Some believe these shafts were aligned with stars or constellations like Orion and Sirius, linking the pharaoh with the gods of the afterlife. The intrigue doesn't end there. With modern tech, robotic cameras probe these shafts, uncovering doors and chambers within, deepening the mystery. What were these ancient engineers up to? The plot thickens with the subterranean chamber, a rough-hewn space carved into the bedrock. Unlike the finished elegance of the pyramid's upper chambers, this one's all raw edges and mystery, suggesting it was abandoned mid-construction. Was it intended as Khufu's original tomb, a symbolic underworld, or something more practical like a flood defense? Theories abound, but no one's quite cracked the code. This chamber's unfinished nature has led to all sorts of speculation about its purpose and why it was left incomplete. Imagine stumbling upon a hidden chamber within one of the world's oldest and most mysterious monuments. That's exactly what happened when scientists discovered the Big Void, a revelation that's as thrilling as it is mystifying. The key to uncovering the Big Void was muon radiography, a fancy term for a technique that uses naturally occurring particles called muons, which rain down from the Earth's atmosphere. These particles have the unique ability to penetrate solid stone, providing a way to peek inside the pyramid without drilling or causing damage. By detecting variations in muon density, scientists can identify empty spaces, like our newly found void. This discovery was the result of international teamwork, part of the Scan Pyramids project, which brought together experts from around the globe to explore the pyramid's innermost secrets. So, what do we know about the Big Void? Well, it's situated above the Grand Gallery, a known cavity within the pyramid, and stretches for at least 30 meters, roughly the length of the gallery below. Its size suggests it was a significant part of the pyramid's design, but its purpose remains a tantalizing mystery. Was it intended to relieve weight from the Grand Gallery below, a hidden chamber for ceremonies, or perhaps just an architectural quirk? The truth is, we're not quite sure yet. The discovery of the Big Void opens up new avenues for exploration and research. Scientists are now considering more advanced methods to study the void in detail, like drilling small holes to insert cameras, all without harming the pyramid's structure. This void could provide invaluable insights into how the ancient Egyptians built such monumental structures and why they included such spaces within the pyramid's design. Each new discovery within the Great Pyramid is a piece of the puzzle in understanding one of humanity's most remarkable achievements. The Big Void isn't just an empty space, it's a reminder of the mysteries still waiting to be solved and the stories of the past yet to be told.
So this, if it were true, and it is true, would put the Sphinx back to a much earlier period, which would tie in with Schwaller's work and John Anthony West's subsequent work, that there were indications that dynastic Egypt as we know it, going back to about 3000 BC, was really a legacy of what I call now an earlier cycle of civilization.
Robert M. Schoch, a geologist with a PhD from Yale University, came up with a fascinating idea in the 1990s about the age of the Great Sphinx of Giza. He noticed something interesting about the erosion patterns on the Sphinx and the surrounding area. Unlike the typical wind and sand erosion you'd expect in Egypt's deserts, these patterns looked more like they were caused by water. This was a big deal because it suggested that the Sphinx might be much older than we thought. Now, Graham Hancock, a well-known British author who loves digging into ancient mysteries, found Schoch's theory really interesting and started supporting it.
Since the early 1990s, question marks have been raised over the age of the Great Sphinx of Giza in Egypt. Egyptologists think it's about 4,500 years old, although there's not a shred of inscription evidence to support this date. Independent researcher John Anthony West and Robert Schoch, professor of geology at Boston University, have made a case that the Sphinx must be much older than that.
Hancock is known for questioning the usual stories we hear about historical and archaeological sites. Schoch's theory caught his eye because it suggested that the Sphinx was around during a time when Egypt had a lot of rain, which was way back around 8,000 to 10,000 BCE. This idea of heavy rainfall leading to the erosion we see on the Sphinx today is really cool, but also quite controversial. You see, traditionally, archaeologists have dated the Sphinx to around 2500 BCE, during Pharaoh Khafre's time. They base this on where the Sphinx is located in the Giza pyramid complex and how it looks compared to other stuff from that period. But if Schoch is right and the Sphinx was actually built when it was much wetter in Egypt, then it could be thousands of years older than we thought, maybe even dating back to the Neolithic era. That's a pretty big shake-up in how we think about ancient Egyptian history.
To put it bluntly, the Sphinx did not originate with Khafre in the 4th dynasty, and really the beginning of my serious work and career looking at ancient civilizations.
Instead of the typical wear and tear you'd expect from wind and sand in a desert, the Sphinx had features like deep cracks, wavy lines on its limestone walls, and smooth, rounded edges. These are the kinds of things you usually see with water erosion, not wind or sand. Now, the Sphinx is made out of limestone, which is pretty easy for water to wear down. And what's interesting is that this limestone is made up of different layers, some harder than others. Schoch saw that the water erosion affected these layers in a way that you wouldn't really see if it was just wind and sand doing the damage. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Schoch looked at the climate history of the Sahara Desert and the Giza area and found out that way back between 10,000 and 5,000 BCE, this place wasn't the dry desert we know today. It was actually pretty wet, thanks to something called the Neolithic subpluvial phase.
We know there were ultra hyper-arid Sahara conditions on the Giza Plateau for the last 5,000 or so years. And this ties in with the origins of civilization, according to the standard story, which is that civilization began between 4,000 3,000 BCE.
This was a time when there was a lot more rain. So Schoch thinks that this rainy period might have caused the kind of water erosion we see on the Sphinx, suggesting it's much older than we thought, maybe even dating back to these wetter times. This goes against the usual dating of the Sphinx to around 2500 BCE during Pharaoh Khafre's reign, based on its style and where it's located in the Giza pyramid complex. Schoch's idea definitely shakes things up in terms of how we think about the Sphinx's age. So Robert Schoch didn't just look at the Sphinx in isolation when he was thinking about this whole water erosion idea. He actually compared the wear and tear on the Sphinx with other ancient limestone sites that had been exposed to a lot of rain. This was his way of checking if what he saw on the Sphinx matched up with known patterns of water erosion elsewhere. It's like looking at different worn-out jeans to figure out if they got ripped from climbing trees or just from washing them a lot. He found sites with a clear historical background where they knew for sure that rain had done its thing over the years. When he looked at these places, he noticed that the erosion patterns were quite similar to what he was seeing on the Sphinx. This kind of bolstered his argument that the erosion on the Sphinx could really be from water, not just wind or sand.
You look at the evidence, and that's really where I was coming from. But my point is that even in the late 1980s, early 1990s, when I first got involved with this, if I looked at it critically, the evidence was not that definitive for the age of the Sphinx.
Schoch's approach was pretty comprehensive. He wasn't just a geologist looking at rocks. He was also considering the weather patterns from thousands of years ago and what archaeologists were saying about these ancient sites. It's like he was piecing together a big jigsaw puzzle from different fields of study. But of course, there are always different sides to a story. Some critics pointed out that the erosion could be due to other natural processes unique to the Giza area, like fluctuations in groundwater, or the way certain chemicals in the air might wear down the rock. And then there's the whole thing about what archaeologists have found around the Sphinx, like artifacts and writings that suggest it was built around 2500 BCE, during Pharaoh Khafre's time. This kind of goes against Schoch's idea that the Sphinx is way older because of the water erosion. So it's a bit of a puzzle with some pieces still missing. Graham Hancock has this really intriguing idea about an ancient civilization that he thinks existed way before the ones we usually learn about in history books, like the Egyptians, Sumerians, and the Indus Valley folks. He reckons this civilization was around many millennia earlier, and that it might have been wiped out by a huge comet impact around 10,000 BCE. Imagine that a whole advanced society just gone in the blink of an eye, leaving only bits and pieces behind. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Hancock thinks this civilization wasn't just hanging out in one spot, it was all over the place, having a global influence. He suggests that after whatever disaster hit them, the survivors might have traveled far and wide, sharing their knowledge and helping kickstart other ancient cultures. Hancock dives into myths and oral traditions from all over the world too. He's not just dismissing these stories as old wives' tales, but considering them as potential historical records. For example, he's really interested in the flood myths that pop up in different cultures. He thinks these might be a collective memory of a real event that had a huge impact on this lost civilization.
The best explanation is that floods of icy meltwater released by the heat and kinetic energy of the impacts flowed off the North American ice cap and into the Atlantic Ocean, where they interrupted the Gulf Stream, a key element of the central heating system of our planet, hence the sudden and dramatic cooling.
Now, Hancock is big on astronomy. He points to how some ancient structures, like the Giza pyramids and the Sphinx, line up with certain stars and constellations. He thinks this isn't just a coincidence, but a sign of advanced astronomical knowledge. He's also into the idea that these ancient folks understood the precession of the equinoxes. That's a fancy term for a slow shift in Earth's rotation over a 26,000-year cycle. If he's right, it means they were way ahead of their time in understanding the cosmos. Graham Hancock has this captivating theory about ancient civilizations and their architectural wonders. He's really into how these old structures, like the pyramids in Egypt, Stonehenge, and those incredible megalithic sites in South America, show off some serious engineering and architectural skills. Hancock reckons that to build these things with such precision and detail, those ancient folks must have had some advanced knowledge and technology that we don't usually give them credit for. Take, for instance, the way the stones are cut at Pumapunku in Bolivia. Hancock points out that the cuts are so precise, it's as if they had access to some really advanced tools. And when it comes to building massive structures, he's all about the techniques they must have used. He's amazed at how accurately these huge stones were fitted together, often without any mortar, and wonders how on earth they moved and positioned stones that weigh several tons. This isn't just your everyday heavy lifting. We're talking about some serious know-how in engineering and possibly some clever uses of leverage and pulley systems. Now he doesn't stop there. He's also fascinated by the mathematical and geometrical knowledge that these structures reveal. He talks about the use of the golden ratio, pi, and precise angular measurements, which shows a sophisticated understanding of math and geometry. Like, take the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Its alignment, the way its base is perfectly level, and the precise angles of its sides. Hancock sees this as evidence of a much more advanced understanding of geometry and engineering than we might think. Then there are the monumental buildings in Mesoamerica, such as the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan and the Mayan pyramids. Hancock highlights their architectural sophistication, urban planning, and the use of large stone blocks. All of this, to him, points to a level of technological proficiency and knowledge that goes way beyond what we've traditionally thought was possible for these ancient cultures. In a nutshell, Hancock is looking at these ancient structures and saying, hey, there's more to the story here. He's suggesting that these civilizations had a depth of knowledge and skill in construction, engineering, and mathematics that challenges our conventional understanding of ancient history.
It wasn't something the Maya made up. The Olmecs used that same symbolism. So the Mayan calendar is actually an Olmec calendar. And if we then consider the possibility that the Olmecs may just be the latest, the earliest surviving manifestation of that calendar, it could go back.
Then there's Teotihuacan in Mexico. Hancock looks at the layout of this ancient city and sees a kind of mirror image of our solar system's planetary orbits. To him, this suggests that the people who built Teotihuacan had a pretty detailed knowledge of astronomy and space. Stonehenge in England is another example. Hancock thinks it was used as an astronomical observatory because of how it aligns with the solstices. He sees this as further evidence that ancient people understood celestial movements really well. And let's not forget about the Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. During the equinoxes, this pyramid casts a shadow that looks like a serpent. Hancock sees this as a sophisticated way of tracking the sun's path, again showing an advanced understanding of astronomy. Hancock also dives into the idea of precession, which is this slow wobble in Earth's rotation that takes about 26,000 years to go full circle. He looks at how the Giza pyramids align with Orion's belt, and how the Sphinx lines up with the Leo constellation during what's known as the Age of Leo, around 10,500 BCE. He thinks these alignments aren't random but deliberate, showing that the people back then understood this complex astronomical phenomenon. So, in a nutshell, Hancock is really into the idea that ancient structures around the world weren't just built for the heck of it. He believes they were deliberately aligned with stars, constellations, and celestial events, showing that ancient civilizations had a much deeper understanding of astronomy than we usually give them credit for.
I think it was a civilization that emerged from shamanism, but did not stay at the hunter-gatherer stage. A lot of archaeologists have said to me, but we don't find any plastic bottles from the Ice Age. That means there was no advanced civilization during the Ice Age. Well, hang on. Maybe an advanced civilization might have decided never to get involved in plastic in the first place.
In the intriguing world of ancient mysteries, Graham Hancock's global pyramid connection theory stands out with its bold and controversial propositions. He suggests an intriguing link between the pyramids and megalithic structures scattered across the globe, from the imposing pyramids of Egypt to the intricate stoneworks of the Mayans and Aztecs in Central and South America, and even extending to the lesser-known pyramids in China's Shaanxi province and the enigmatic Gunung Padang in Indonesia. Hancock sees a common thread. He theorizes that either a singular advanced civilization was behind these architectural marvels, or that there was a widespread sharing of knowledge that influenced their construction. The cultural significance of these structures is as varied as their geographical locations. Each civilization, with its unique beliefs and traditions, revered these structures for different reasons. Yet the ubiquity of pyramids as a form of monumental architecture is a fascinating aspect that Hancock highlights. The construction timelines of these structures are equally diverse, spanning from the early dynastic period of Egypt around 2700 BCE to the classical period of the Mesoamerican civilizations, which lasted until around 900 CE.
They cultivated powers of the human mind that we dismiss and regard as completely unimportant.
Hancock is particularly interested in the engineering techniques used in these structures. The precision in construction is nothing short of remarkable. The Great Pyramid, for instance, is a testament to this precision, with its perfectly aligned stones and joints, often put together without any mortar. This level of accuracy in the stonework, especially considering the era in which these structures were built, is a feat that continues to baffle many. Furthermore, the massive stone blocks used in these constructions, some weighing several tons, indicate a level of architectural knowledge and capability that seems far ahead of its time. What is truly intriguing is the architectural complexity of these structures. Constructed in an era without the technological advancements of the modern world, these pyramids and megaliths raise questions about the level of knowledge and capabilities of ancient builders. Were they simply extraordinarily skilled? Or was there an external influence, perhaps from a now-lost advanced civilization? Now, delving into the idea of an advanced ancient civilization, a concept that veers sharply from the path trodden by mainstream academics. His theory paints a picture of a civilization existing more than 10,000 years ago that was leaps and bounds ahead of its time in fields like astronomy, engineering, and mathematics. This civilization, as Hancock proposes, predates the earliest known societies like Sumer and ancient Egypt, which conventional history places at around 6,000 years ago. At the heart of the theory is the awe-inspiring astronomical precision of ancient structures. Take, for instance, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's not just a monumental tomb, it's a testament to astronomical alignment, with its sides precisely mirroring the cardinal points. Then there's the Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, known as El Castillo, where during the equinoxes, an interplay of light and shadow conjures the image of a serpent descending its steps, a marvel of ancient engineering and understanding of celestial events. Perhaps one of the most fascinating aspects of the theory is the Orion correlation theory, which he developed alongside Robert Bauval. They propose that the layout of the three pyramids of Giza correlates with the three stars of Orion's belt. This isn't just a coincidental alignment. According to Hancock, it's a deliberate mirror of the heavens, indicative of an advanced astronomical understanding.
The signs of civilization that we see emerging are not the beginnings of civilization, they're a restarting.
But where did this knowledge come from? Some point to megalithic sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dating back to around 10,000 BC. These sites are not just ancient, they are complex and aligned with celestial bodies, suggesting an understanding of astronomy and mathematics far beyond what we would expect from that era. He doesn't stop there. He even brings ancient maps into the equation, like the Piri Reis map, which he believes displays a geographical understanding that seems too advanced for its time. Of course, every great civilization has its downfall, and his theory is no exception. He speculates about cataclysmic events, possibly a comet impact around 10,500 BC, leading to the civilization's demise. This catastrophe, he believes, scattered the survivors across the globe, who then imparted their advanced knowledge to the emerging civilizations they encountered. Now, what if we combine two different thoughts here? What if the ancient civilization many mention that came from the stars were the ancient Anunnaki? Zecharia Sitchin's theories about the Anunnaki and their connection to Earth have stirred up quite a conversation in both scientific and alternative history circles. According to Sitchin, the Anunnaki weren't just deities of ancient Mesopotamian lore, but extraterrestrials from a distant planet named Nibiru. This planet, he claims, orbits our sun every 3,600 years, coming close enough to Earth to have influenced our history in profound ways. It's a story that seems straight out of a science fiction novel, but Sitchin grounded his ideas in his translations of ancient Sumerian and Mesopotamian cuneiform texts, which he interpreted as historical records rather than mythological tales. Sitchin's narrative delves into the reasons behind the Anunnaki's visits to Earth. He proposed that these extraterrestrial beings were in search of resources, particularly gold, which they needed to repair their home planet's atmosphere. But their influence on Earth, according to Sitchin, went far beyond a mere interstellar gold rush. He believed that the Anunnaki utilized their advanced technology and knowledge to help build many of the ancient world's incredible structures, like the Egyptian pyramids and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia. Perhaps one of the most controversial aspects of his theory is the idea that the Anunnaki engaged in genetic engineering. Sitchin speculated that the first humans were a product of the Anunnaki, combining their DNA with that of early hominids on Earth. This, he argued, significantly accelerated human development and influenced the trajectory of our civilizations. The reach and implications of Sitchin's theories are vast. He suggested that the Anunnaki didn't just leave behind architectural wonders, but also imparted knowledge and skills that spurred the growth of ancient societies. It's a theory that paints the story of human civilization in a completely different light, suggesting that our advancements might have had a little extraterrestrial push.
And suddenly we see these signs of civilization appearing, and in places like Göbekli Tepe, those signs already include highly sophisticated knowledge.
The theory that interlinks the Anunnaki, a group of ancient deities from Mesopotamian mythology, with the construction of Earth's megalithic structures, is a narrative rich in speculation and wonder. Advocates of this theory believe the Anunnaki were not mere mythological figures, but advanced extraterrestrial beings. Their alleged arrival on Earth and involvement in monumental constructions have fascinated many who seek explanations beyond conventional history. Proponents suggest that the Anunnaki possessed far superior technological and engineering capabilities compared to the humans of their time. This advanced knowledge, they argue, was instrumental in the construction of various awe-inspiring ancient structures, such as the pyramids of Egypt, the mysterious Stonehenge, the colossal Moai statues of Easter Island, and the towering pyramids of Mesoamerica. The intricate designs, the massive stones used, and the precision of these constructions are often cited as beyond the capabilities of ancient civilizations without external assistance. One striking feature of these ancient structures is their astronomical alignment. For instance, Stonehenge's layout closely aligns with the movements of the sun during solstices and equinoxes. Similarly, many ancient structures across the globe share architectural features despite their geographical distances, hinting, as some believe, at a common source of knowledge or influence. The theory also delves into the timing of the Anunnaki's arrival on Earth. It is often suggested that their arrival coincided with or followed significant cataclysmic events, like great floods or environmental disasters. This timing is seen as strategic, either for the purpose of assisting in Earth's restoration or exploiting its resources in a period of human vulnerability. This aspect of the theory finds resonance in various ancient mythologies, which are replete with tales of gods or celestial beings descending to Earth in times of great need. Some theorists go as far as to interpret these mythological accounts not as allegorical or symbolic stories, but as historical records of actual events, including the arrival and actions of the Anunnaki. In particular, flood myths prevalent in various cultures, such as the biblical story of Noah and the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, are sometimes pointed to as supporting evidence for a global cataclysm that coincided with the Anunnaki's arrival. These narratives, they argue, are not just mythical tales, but potentially documentations of real events that were witnessed and recorded by ancient civilizations. While this theory garners interest and has a certain appeal to those fascinated by ancient mysteries and the possibility of extraterrestrial influence, it remains outside the realm of mainstream historical and archaeological discourse. The lack of empirical evidence and the speculative nature of the interpretations involved place this theory in the category of alternative history rather than established fact. Nonetheless, it continues to be a topic of intrigue and discussion among enthusiasts of ancient astronaut theories and alternative historical narratives.
Elon Musk has received a lot of criticism in the past for not having given Nikola Tesla enough credit for Tesla's enormous success with his car company.
But I do wonder today, like, if Nikola Tesla applied to Tesla, would we even give him an interview?
Nikola Tesla, the visionary electrical engineer who lit up the world with his ideas, poured a significant portion of his life into unraveling the mysteries of wireless energy transmission. His dream? To weave an invisible web of energy that could span the globe, allowing electrical power to flow as freely as the air we breathe without the need for wires. Among his most ambitious undertakings was the Wardenclyffe Tower project, which wasn't just any ordinary broadcasting system. Tesla envisioned it as a beacon of progress that would send messages, telephone signals, and even facsimile images straight across the Atlantic to England and to ships lost in the vast ocean, all without laying a single wire. But there's more to it. The tower was designed to tap into the Earth's ionosphere itself, creating a pathway for the wireless transmission of electrical energy across vast distances. Meanwhile, thousands of years before Tesla, the Great Pyramid of Giza stood tall against the sky, a testament to the ancient world's ingenuity.
Great Pyramid stands about 450 feet tall, but its original height was 481 feet tall.
While it's widely recognized as a monumental tomb for Pharaoh Khufu, some have speculated that this structure was much more than a mere resting place for the deceased. A captivating theory suggests that the Great Pyramid might have served as a colossal power plant, capturing the Earth's vibrational energies. Imagine the pyramid with its limestone and granite layers interwoven with quartz crystals, humming with the Earth's vibrations and possibly converting this energy into electricity, acting as a gargantuan resonator. The parallel between Tesla's futuristic visions of wireless energy and the supposed function of the Great Pyramid is nothing short of fascinating. Both stand as milestones in humanity's quest to harness and distribute energy in novel ways. Tesla's work represented a leap toward the future, while the pyramid, according to some theorists, hints at an ancient wisdom lost to time. Tesla's journey into the world of resonant frequencies led him to invent the Tesla coil, capable of generating high-voltage, low-current, high-frequency, alternating current electricity. He believed that the Earth could serve as a conductor, resonating at a specific frequency that could be used to wirelessly transmit energy. The Great Pyramid's design, its dimensions, orientation, and the materials used in its construction suggests it was built to tap into the Earth's resonant frequencies, much like Tesla aimed to do with his experiments. This alignment suggests a profound understanding of natural energies that transcends time, from the ancient Egyptians to Tesla's modern scientific explorations. Tesla envisioned a world interconnected by an invisible web of energies, enabling the direct global transmission of power into homes, industries, and vehicles without reliance on physical connections. This revolutionary concept remains a beacon of innovation today. The ancient Egyptians' mastery of geometry, astronomy, and possibly energy reflects a convergence of science, architecture, and technology that mirrors Tesla's interdisciplinary approach to energy and science. One theory posits that both Tesla's groundbreaking work and the architectural marvels of the pyramids are manifestations of humanity's enduring quest to master the unseen forces of nature for the betterment of civilization. The idea that the Great Pyramid could function as a resonator, amplifying and transmitting energy in a manner akin to Tesla's envisioned global wireless system, underscores a remarkable parallel between two vastly different eras, united in their quest to harness the natural world for energy transmission. Nikola Tesla's captivation with the geometry of nature and human-made structures, particularly the pyramids, wasn't just a fleeting interest. He saw in these shapes the keys to the universe's energies, believing that they held profound secrets about the world around us. His fascination is evident in how geometric principles were woven into the fabric of his experiments and inventions, especially those focusing on electromagnetic fields and energy transmission. Tesla's pursuit of geometric perfection wasn't just for aesthetic pleasure. He believed it was essential to enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of his creations. Meanwhile, the Great Pyramid of Giza, a marvel of ancient engineering, stands as a testament to a sophisticated understanding of geometry and astronomy. Its precise alignment with the cardinal points and its slope, echoing the golden ratio, suggests that its builders possessed a deep knowledge of the world that rivals modern understanding. This pyramid, according to some theories, might have been more than just a grand tomb. It could have been an advanced machine designed to harness the Earth's energies. Such a notion aligns seamlessly with Tesla's lifelong mission to tap into and utilize the planet's natural forces. Tesla's deep respect for the numbers 3, 6, and 9, which he considered profoundly significant to the universe's structure, finds an intriguing parallel in the dimensions of the Great Pyramid. These numbers appear repeatedly, not just as measurements, but in the relationships and proportions that define the pyramid's architecture. It's as if both Tesla and the ancient Egyptians were tuned into a universal harmony, expressed through these sacred numbers. The comparison between Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower and the Great Pyramid is particularly striking. Despite the vast differences in time and culture that separate their creators, both structures are thought to have been conceived with a similar purpose in mind: to harness and manipulate the Earth's natural energies for the betterment of humanity. Tesla's vision for the Wardenclyffe Tower as a means to distribute wireless energy globally mirrors the speculated function of the Great Pyramid as a giant resonator or capacitor, capable of accumulating and directing the Earth's electromagnetic forces. Tesla's experiments and designs, particularly those related to wireless energy transmission, can be seen as a modern application of principles that might have been understood, in another form, by the builders of the Great Pyramid. The idea that both Tesla and the ancient Egyptians aimed to design structures that could interact with natural forces on a grand scale suggests a shared understanding of the world's inherent energies. Moreover, the mathematical precision found in the Great Pyramid, with its use of the golden ratio and the incorporation of pi and phi in its dimensions, reflects a cosmological blueprint that seems to resonate with Tesla's own work. Many of Tesla's notes and experimental findings echo this mathematical harmony, suggesting a belief in the power of geometric ratios and alignments to access and manipulate natural energies. As we delve into the connections between Tesla's work and the Great Pyramid, it becomes clear that both represent a profound quest to understand and harness the energies of the natural world. Through their legacy, we are reminded of the timeless pursuit of knowledge and the power of geometric harmony in unlocking the secrets of the universe. Diving deep into the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza, researchers and visitors alike have been captivated by its internal chamber's remarkable acoustic properties. Sounds within these ancient stone walls are not merely heard, they are felt, resonating deeply as if the pyramid itself is singing. This acoustic marvel suggests that the ancient Egyptians might have possessed an advanced understanding of acoustics, rivaling even that of modern concert hall designers. The way chants and music come alive within these chambers hints at a deliberate design for acoustical resonance, a feature that seems too sophisticated to be mere coincidence. Parallel to the acoustic wonders of the Great Pyramid, Nikola Tesla, a name synonymous with groundbreaking advancements in electricity and electromagnetism, ventured into the realm of acoustics. Tesla explored how sound frequencies could affect physical objects, uncovering that certain frequencies could induce resonance. This wasn't just a minor curiosity for Tesla. He saw practical applications, envisioning ways to use resonance in energy transmission and perhaps even unlock secrets of ancient technologies. His speculative work on the so-called earthquake machine, which purportedly used resonance to produce small tremors, underscores his belief in the power of vibrational energy. The notion that the Great Pyramid could harness or manipulate sound for purposes beyond simple communication, perhaps for healing, altering consciousness, or even generating energy, finds an intriguing counterpart in Tesla's experiments. The speculation that this ancient wonder served as more than a monumental tomb, possibly functioning as a power plant harnessing natural forces, parallels Tesla's ambitious Wardenclyffe Tower project. Both the pyramid and Tesla's tower are thought to have been designed with a deep understanding of natural forces, including both electromagnetic and acoustic energies, aimed at benefiting humanity. There's speculation that Tesla's designs, including the visionary Wardenclyffe Tower, might have been inspired by ancient structures like the Great Pyramid. The idea that the pyramid could concentrate electromagnetic and possibly acoustic energy aligns with Tesla's interest in using architecture and technology to interact with and utilize natural energies. His appreciation for ancient knowledge and the potential to rediscover and apply this wisdom to modern science suggests a profound connection between Tesla's work and the architectural and technological achievements of the ancient world.
He knew a mystery when he saw it, and he couldn't explain it. We should be open-minded enough to consider the possibility that some of the answers may sit outside of our current perspective.
What do conventional archaeologists say when they're confronted by all of this data?
Ever wondered what went on inside those magnificent pyramids of ancient Egypt? Well, buckle up, because we're about to delve into the fascinating world of the ancient pyramid texts. These inscriptions carved onto the pyramid walls around 2400 to 2300 BCE are like a window into the hearts and minds of the people who built these incredible structures. These texts weren't just random scribbles, they were meticulously crafted during a pivotal period in Egyptian history, the twilight of the Old Kingdom. This era is famous for the iconic pyramids, those towering tombs for pharaohs. The pyramids themselves are a testament to the Egyptians' architectural genius and their deep understanding of math and engineering. But the pyramid texts are more than just historical footnotes. They're the earliest known religious writings from Egypt, offering a glimpse into the beliefs and practices of this ancient civilization. They're like cultural snapshots showing how art, architecture, and religion were all woven together. The pyramids themselves were seen as the ultimate expression of both religious devotion and the pharaoh's supreme power. Speaking of power, the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom weren't just seen as leaders, they were considered living gods. This concept of divine kingship was the glue that held society together, justifying the pharaoh's absolute authority. The pyramid texts are all about this. They're basically spells and instructions meant to help the pharaoh navigate the afterlife and join the gods, further solidifying the idea of their godlike status. Imagine a society where the pharaoh is at the top of the pyramid, wielding immense power. That's exactly what the Old Kingdom was like. This centralized system allowed them to mobilize the massive resources and manpower needed to build the pyramids. It also meant the government had a tight grip on things, controlling people and resources to a great extent. But running a complex society like this wasn't a walk in the park. It required a well-oiled bureaucratic machine, and that's what the Egyptians had. This network of officials kept things running smoothly, organizing labor, managing resources, and handling the countless details of daily life. It was a sophisticated system for a sophisticated society. We've talked about the cultural significance of the pyramid texts and the social structure of the Old Kingdom, but how did they manage to pull off such massive building projects? Building a pyramid wasn't like putting together a piece of IKEA furniture. It required serious resources and manpower. Imagine this, hauling giant blocks of stone, transporting them for miles, and feeding a whole army of workers for years on end. That's what the Egyptians had to do to build the pyramids. It was a massive undertaking, requiring a well-oiled economic engine. Here's where things get interesting. Contrary to popular belief, the pyramids weren't built by slaves, but by a paid workforce. These workers were likely skilled laborers, artisans, and even seasonal workers, and they were treated pretty well. We found evidence of medical care, food, and even some form of compensation. So how could they afford all this? The answer lies in a concept called economic surplus. Basically, they had enough resources left over after taking care of basic needs like food and shelter to invest in these grand projects. This surplus came from their mastery of agriculture thanks to the Nile River's annual floods. These floods enriched the land and allowed them to grow more food than they needed to survive, freeing up people to work on other things like, you guessed it, building pyramids. But the pyramids are more than just piles of stone, they're symbols too. Many believe they represent the rays of the sun, a pathway for the pharaoh's soul to reach the heavens. This symbolism is deeply connected to the pyramid texts, which are filled with references to the sun god Ra. It all goes back to the Egyptians' belief system, where religion, royalty, and the universe were all interconnected. Speaking of connections, the pyramid texts are like the great-grandparents of later Egyptian religious texts. They paved the way for things like the coffin texts and the Book of the Dead. These later texts show how Egyptian beliefs evolved over time, adapting and becoming more accessible to people beyond just the pharaohs. So we've explored the economic engine behind the pyramids and the deeper meaning they hold. But let's not forget the pyramids themselves. They weren't just giant piles of stone. They were meticulously designed and built with a specific purpose in mind. Imagine these pyramids as giant tombs, built to house the bodies and possessions of pharaohs after they passed away. But they weren't just storage units. They were designed to help the pharaoh's soul on its journey to the afterlife, and that's where the pyramid texts come in. These inscriptions were like a guidebook for the pharaoh's soul, offering spells and protection every step of the way. The most famous pyramid containing these texts belongs to Unas, the last ruler of the 5th dynasty. His pyramid, located in Saqqara, was the first to include these inscriptions, paving the way for future pharaohs to follow suit. Think of it like a new trend. Once Unas did it, other pharaohs like Teti, Pepi the I, and even Pepi II decided they wanted pyramid texts too. These texts weren't just scribbled on any old piece of papyrus. They were painstakingly carved into the very walls of the pyramids by skilled artisans. Imagine the dedication and precision it took to etch those intricate hieroglyphs into stone. This not only shows the skill of the craftsman, but also highlights the importance of the texts themselves. They were considered so sacred and valuable that they deserved a permanent and prominent place within the pyramids. Speaking of sacredness, these texts were like the holy scripts of their time. They contained spells, prayers, and hymns, all designed to ensure the pharaoh's safe passage to the afterlife and even his transformation into a god. The fact that they were placed inside the pyramids, which were themselves seen as sacred spaces, further emphasizes their importance. But here's the interesting part. Initially, these texts were an exclusive club. Only the pharaohs got to enjoy their benefits, further solidifying their divine status in society. It kind of reflects the hierarchical structure of the time, where access to certain religious practices and texts was restricted to the privileged few. However, things eventually changed. Over time, the concepts and spells found in the pyramid texts started to trickle down to the broader Egyptian population. This led to the development of the coffin texts, and later the famous Book of the Dead. These later texts mark a turning point, making spells and rituals for the afterlife more accessible, not just for the pharaohs but for regular people too. So the pyramid texts, originally exclusive to the pharaohs, became the seed for a more democratic approach to the afterlife in ancient Egypt. Now, imagine unearthing a piece of history that rewrites what we know about writing. That's exactly what happened in the 1920s when the Kish tablet was discovered in the ancient city of Kish, Mesopotamia. This wasn't just any clay tablet. It was a game changer, offering a glimpse into the very origins of writing and the fascinating society that developed it. Kish was no ordinary town. Located along the Euphrates River, it was a bustling hub of trade, politics, and culture, attracting people from far and wide. This melting pot of cultures likely played a key role in the birth of writing, as different people brought their own symbols and ways of record-keeping, eventually leading to the development of proto-cuneiform script. The discovery of the Kish tablet itself is a story of collaboration. Archaeologists from the Field Museum of Natural History, led by Stephen Langdon, joined forces with other experts to uncover the secrets of Kish. Back then, excavation techniques were evolving, becoming more systematic and meticulous, which was crucial for carefully preserving and documenting this historic find. But what's so special about this tablet? Well, the writing system on it is like a Rosetta Stone of the ancient world. It's one of the earliest examples of written communication, showcasing the transition from picture-based symbols to the complex wedge-shaped script known as cuneiform. This shift reflects the growing complexity of Sumerian society, as people needed new ways to keep track of things. The creation and use of the Kish tablet also hint at a well-organized society. Imagine a city-state managing resources, governing its people, and even engaging in trade with other regions. Writing wasn't just about leaving messages, it was essential for recording transactions, laws, and important decisions. But the impact of writing goes beyond practicalities. It opened doors for cultural expression and the preservation of knowledge. With writing, the Sumerians could record their myths, laws, and historical events, ensuring they weren't lost to time. This paved the way for the rich literary traditions that flourished in the ancient Near East. The Kish tablet is a reminder that writing wasn't just a random invention. It was a necessity for keeping complex societies running smoothly. It also opened doors for cultural exchange and the preservation of knowledge across generations. This discovery continues to spark debates among scholars, with some questioning whether writing originated independently in Mesopotamia or was influenced by other cultures. The mystery surrounding the exact function and content of the tablet adds to its allure, making it a captivating piece of history that continues to captivate archaeologists and historians alike.
There are huge areas of the world that have never been looked at by archaeology at all, or if looked at by archaeology, looked at only minimally. It's really important to understand that archaeology is often driven by accidental finds.
In the shadowed depths beneath the temple of the ancient city of Taposiris Magna, Located along the Egyptian coastline, a monumental discovery was made by Kathleen Martinez of the University of Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and her team.
Let's call in the archaeologists to make sure that we're not going to wreck any ancient archaeology while we're doing this. And that's a lot of archaeological discoveries are made as a result of that.
During their meticulous excavations, they unearthed an extensive tunnel plunging 13 meters underground, expertly carved through 1,305 meters of sandstone. This architectural feat, standing 2 meters tall, has been hailed as a geometric miracle by the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities for its engineering precision and scale.
It's interesting that the patterns are geometrical. Someone made it, and it involved a very large amount of organized labor in order to make it. There had to be the will and the intent in order to do that.
The Eupalinos Tunnel, extending over 10 to 36 meters, was an unparalleled achievement in ancient engineering, mirroring the complexity and ambition of the Taposiris Magna tunnel, though the latter's function remains a mystery. Despite being partially submerged in water, the tunnel's purpose, beyond its architectural resemblance to historical works, is still under investigation. The driving force behind Martinez's dedication to Taposiris Magna since 2004 has been the quest to locate the final resting place of Cleopatra VII, the last queen of the Ptolemaic dynasty.
Are we looking at the traces of a forgotten episode in human history? I think so. I think that's what's going on here.
The excavations at Taposiris Magna have not been in vain, revealing artifacts and signs hinting at the presence of Cleopatra and her ancestors. Founded around 280 BCE by Ptolemy II, a direct descendant of one of Alexander the Great's generals, Taposiris Magna is steeped in the legacy of its founders. The temple, believed to be dedicated to Osiris and his consort Isis, also aligns with Cleopatra's efforts to embody Isis, strengthening her divine legitimacy.
This is a very neglected area of the world as far as deep and ancient archaeology goes.
Discoveries within the temple complex have included coins adorned with the likenesses of Cleopatra and Alexander the Great, alongside figurines of Isis, suggesting a vibrant cultic activity centered around these figures. Additionally, Greco-Roman burial shafts unearthed within the site hint at the potential for finding tombs similar to those Cleopatra and her consort Mark Antony might be interred in, raising the possibility of uncovering their final resting places. Looking forward, the exploration is set to extend into the Mediterranean Sea, following the trail of a series of devastating earthquakes between 320 and 1303 CE that led to the partial submersion of the temple complex. Prior excavations have also indicated a network of tunnels connecting Lake Mariotte to the Mediterranean, suggesting a broader scope of investigation in the quest to unravel the mysteries of Taposiris Magna. The tunnel discovery, yielding artifacts such as pottery and a limestone block, adds to the anticipation of what lies ahead. As articulated by Zahi Hawass, the former Minister for Antiquities, the discovery of Cleopatra and Mark Antony's tomb would be a landmark event of the 21st century. Nonetheless, the significance of the findings at Taposiris Magna transcends the search for royal tombs, shedding light on the rich and complex history of this ancient city. The ongoing excavations promise not only the potential revelation of royal tombs, but also a deeper understanding of the cultural and historical landscape of ancient Egypt. Moving on, the mystery of the Osiris Shaft, a hidden gem beneath the sands of the Giza Plateau.
But he found evidence of deliberate burial in a very complicated, difficult cave system, which you can hardly access.
Is this shaft connected with ancient Queen Cleopatra? This ancient marvel is a deep dive into Egyptian engineering brilliance and a profound testament to their religious beliefs. Carved straight into the bedrock and plunging about 30 meters, which is nearly 100 feet underground. It's a 3-level journey into the past, where architecture meets the afterlife. Right at the doorstep of the Pyramid of Khafre, the entrance to this subterranean complex is anything but ordinary. It's like stepping into a different realm, starting with a modest antechamber that serves as your welcome or warning of the mysteries that lie ahead. This first stop is simple yet precise, a showcase of the ancient Egyptians' mastery over stone, but the adventure only deepens from there. A narrow passage takes you to the second level, a larger space carved with burial niches. Imagine this as a VIP section for the afterlife, likely reserved for those with a direct line to the gods or high standing in society. It's a clear sign that you're moving closer to something sacred. Then comes the final plunge to the heart of the Osiris Shaft. Here, in the deepest chamber, you're greeted by a scene straight out of mythology. At the center, a massive granite sarcophagus sits partially submerged in water, which seeps in naturally from the limestone. This isn't just an engineering feat, it's a direct nod to Osiris, the god of the afterlife, whose story is intertwined with the Nile itself. The water here isn't just a natural occurrence, it's a symbol of life, death, and rebirth, mirroring the Nile's life-giving floods and Osiris's own resurrection story. The genius of the Osiris Shaft isn't just in its construction, though carving such a complex directly into the bedrock, managing groundwater, and ensuring stability is nothing short of astounding. It's also in how it weaves together functionality and deep religious symbolism. This place wasn't just meant for burying the dead, it was a canvas on which the ancient Egyptians painted their beliefs in the afterlife, a physical journey through the underworld that mirrored the soul's passage to eternity. In the end, the Osiris Shaft stands as a profound expression of ancient Egyptian architectural and religious thought, a place where the physical and the spiritual meet, carved deep into the earth. The Osiris Shaft presents a fascinating narrative of ancient Egyptian beliefs, ingeniously encapsulated in a subterranean complex. This enigmatic site, stretching deep beneath the sands, offers a rare window into the Egyptians' sophisticated burial practices and their reverence for Osiris, the deity of the afterlife and rebirth. The discovery of varied sarcophagi within its depths speaks volumes about the social tapestry and the evolving customs over millennia from the Old Kingdom through to the Ptolemaic period. It's intriguing to see how granite and basalt sarcophagi, earmarked for the elite, coexist with simpler wooden ones, suggesting a resting place for a wide spectrum of society. The assortment of burial goods unearthed here, from pottery intended for afterlife sustenance to ushabti figures meant to serve the deceased beyond death, underscores a firm belief in an existence after life. These artifacts weren't just symbolic, they were envisioned to spring to life in the afterlife, attending to the deceased. The presence of jewelry, amulets, and various ritual objects further accentuates the shaft's spiritual significance, painting a vivid picture of the personal beliefs and the societal stature of those entombed within its chambers. Less common than in grandiose tombs but equally telling are the inscriptions found within the Osiris Shaft. These hieroglyphic texts, drawn from the Book of the Dead, offer prayers and spells to aid the deceased's passage through the underworld, revealing the religious literature that permeated burial rites at the time. The shaft's design and function serve as a profound testament to the myth of Osiris, creating a physical manifestation of the underworld and mirroring the god's mythical entombment in the Nile's waters. This architectural homage to Osiris not only marked the site as a burial ground, but also as a sacred space for pilgrimage and worship, drawing followers to engage in rituals and offerings. The use of water in the deepest chamber, symbolizing purification and rebirth, reflects the Nile's life-giving floods controlled by Osiris, reinforcing the deity's association with agriculture and resurrection. Some theories even suggest that the Osiris Shaft's alignment might connect the deceased with celestial bodies, embedding them within the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a concept that highlights the Egyptians' advanced understanding of cosmology. Exploring the Osiris Shaft thus unfolds a rich tapestry of ancient Egyptian life, belief, and architectural prowess. It's a narrative that transcends the mere act of burial, revealing a culture deeply immersed in the mysteries of the afterlife, the divine, and the cosmos. The Osiris Shaft stands not just as a monument, but as a bridge between the earthly and the divine, offering invaluable insights into the spiritual and everyday lives of the ancient Egyptians.